So welcome to another Wargame review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And I said Wargame, and what I really meant was board game. Because today we're taking a look at...
Do we have to get into that?
No, we don't.
Does it matter?
No. But this is a board game. It doesn't matter, but here's my definition of it.
It's a great game.
Yes. That's what's important.
It was a blast.
This was a very fun game that you play on a table,
Yeah.
on a board.
End of review. Thank you very
And
much.
there is some irregular conflict in it. There you go.
Yeah.
So this is a Gest of Robin Hood from GMT Games. It is Volume 2 in GMT Games' Irregular Conflict series. Volume 1 was Vijaya Nagara.
Which also was an amazing game.
There's an unboxing video on that. We did a designer interview with him on a channel, and we also played it and did kind of like a first review of that as well.
And much like this game, I want to play that game again. I want to do
Yes.
this one again. I mean, they're that good. They feel a lot like The British Way, which was a game that both you and I loved from last year.
Yes.
Great system. And they borrowed from each other, I think, right?
So
Which
this is
fine.
a two-player Robin Hood game, okay?
Our father-in-law would love this.
Oh, yes, he would absolutely
loves
love it.
Robin
He would be
Hood.
overwhelmed by the menu.
He would. We would have to play with him
But
and
he
for
would,
him.
he would love it. He's a Robin Hood nut. Like, we have played what I would refer to as an embarrassing amount of Robin Hood games. Like,
Not all of them good.
but a lot of them are good.
We had several that were very good.
If
That Worthington one was pretty fun.
Yes.
That was a good one. Sorry, we digest.
Sure. It's a... We're having a time.
Wow. We just had dinner. So
Yes,
I
we
am
did.
digesting.
And I'm digesting as
digress.
well, very loudly. So,
This is amazing.
yes, welcome to the Players Aid. by
I
the
love
way.
what we do, and I love how we do it. It is
If
amazing.
if this is your first video here, welcome.
You never know what you're going to get.
We never know what we're going to get either.
And we don't edit.
It's all staying in.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, we've played a lot of Robin Hood games. Amazing. You love to see it. And again, I think a lot of them have been new and creative. And I think this was, when they announced it, they're like, cool, we're doing this Robin Hood themed game. Part of the Irregular Conflict series. What that is it's a series of games that originally was kind of birthed from making coin-adjacent games.
Yeah.
Coin is counterinsurgency. It's a specific line of games that that GMT puts out, and it's often about strong or governmental forces fighting
rebellion.
asymmetric warfare against irregulars, guerrillas, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It has some very strict mechanics through the cards and the initiative systems and what's going on in those. But there's some of these other games that are a bit more adjacent, that diverge from that kind of core system a bit more. They've created this Irregular Conflict series to kind of bucket all of those.
Yeah.
But you also kind of know what you might be getting yourself into. So, two-player game. One of you is going to play as the Sheriff of Nottingham. One of you is going to play as Robin Hood and his little band of merry men. We will shout out a couple people. So this is designed by Fred Serval. We've played his
Red Flag over Paris,
which was good.
I've kind of not played, but I've looked at A Very Civil Whist, which is a trick-taking game that Phalanx is now producing. I think Fred did like a print and play.
But we're looking
for lack of a
forward
better
to
word.
that because
Yes.
we played a game that was similar to that
And
was
enjoyed
very
it.
fun.
Yep.
So yeah, he's kind of an up-and-coming designer, but he also runs the board game, war game channel Homo Ludens, so go and have a check out of that as well. This particular game was developed by Joe Dewhurst, who is himself an up-and-coming designer as well, and helps develop a lot of these kind of new coin games and Irregular Conflict series games. And then the artwork on this is absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
And so I wanted to shout out the graphics people.
Yeah, and there's like 3 people listed, right? So we're not sure exactly who did what part, although we have an inkling of who did certain parts.
So we have Chechu Nieto.
And he did like the boards for All Bridges Burning, Almoravid, and something else.
Yes.
But so he's a young, up-and-coming artist.
Then we have Robert Altbauer.
Who I do not know.
I do not know him. And then Terry Leeds,
And
who is very famous for designing boards.
We're assuming he did the board, but that's an assumption.
Yeah. But whatever it is, and whatever those guys did, what they've put together here is one of the nicest packages I've seen GMT ever put out.
Chef's kiss.
Like, this is
to the production team.
Stunning from the detail and the artwork, but it's also functional in that you're not overwhelmed with too much stuff, because there's a couple of games out there that's like they kind of went a bit too far, and it's like you can't read the names, or the borders are kind of hard.
Sure.
This is
this
very,
is very
easy
clear
to assess,
Yep.
but it's also beautiful.
Well, an example, and when you shoot the board, you'll show them, but the areas I think are clearly marked, right? They are a differentiating line from the rivers and the roads, and that's good, right? It makes it more playable, so I can clearly, I think so, clearly see what different areas are.
But like a good, like a coin game or a war game, you can immediately assess from across, from 6 yards away, which ones are the forest and which ones are the parish.
Oh yeah,
right?
very clear.
But you also have this wonderful embellishments around, and the great little images and pictures. The cards are these
they're
huge tarot-sized cards,
Yeah.
but they have the wonderful, colorful artwork on them in that medieval style. From that standpoint,
They're gorgeous.
Classic wooden coin style pieces that you like. They have these nice custom dice. That's a really nice teal color that they went with.
The only thing I'm upset about those dice, though, is only you get to roll them when you are the Robin Hood.
Yes, and
I want to roll those as well.
yeah,
And
I understand.
I'm jealous.
They were very cruel, so
They were.
maybe be careful what you
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
for.
that's true.
But
The other thing about the board, you already mentioned the embellishments, but the detail here it's phenomenal.
yeah,
There are little fresco scenes. There's people.
and it's half faded, like it's an old parchment.
yeah.
But then they've got
This doesn't stand out to the point where it's distracting, yet it kind of blends in, yet it is distinctive. I just think it's really great. The colors are fantastic. This order and justice track is extremely visible,
Yes.
which is a big part of the game, right? You got to be focused on that. But there's just a lot of elements that are likable here.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it.
And the board is smaller, right? So it's a 22 by 17 board, so it's not this huge sprawling thing.
Yeah.
You have a small player board, and you'll have a little shield to cover it up, and then you'll have 2 decks of cards. So it doesn't take up a ton of space. It's smaller than things like Twilight Struggle and other bits and pieces like that.
Oh, you know
as
what?
well.
There's some nice strategies here.
Yeah,
maybe we should have. Maybe I should have read into that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe I should too, because it did not go well for Robin Hood. But yeah, there's the setup on this side, and there's a couple of variations that you can do as well.
Sure.
For me, at least. I don't know if you guys have that.
Well,
So I have
I'm not
a
sure.
classic, a balanced, and an aggressive.
No,
'cause
I don't.
I have some freedom of where I can set up my initial guys.
well, isn't that just it? Isn't Robin Hood really the straw that stirs the drink in this game?
Yeah, yes.
I
think
feel
so.
like the sheriff is more. I had things that I needed to do and wanted to focus on, but I was really reacting to what I saw that you were doing, or when I got you backed you into a corner, I was then trying to deliver that blow that would really hamper you.
And whilst you say that, and that might tell people off, I actually felt like that you also had good proactive things you were doing.
Oh, no doubt.
By putting those carriages out
Yep.
and trying to escort them or like rush them through
Yep.
areas.
Or clear areas that I know they're going to have to go through before getting there. That's easier said than done.
But you're not a totally reactive.
No.
force.
I
And
did not.
really liked that.
I did not want that comment to come off that way, but the straw that stirs the drink really is, as most of the coin games are, I feel like the insurgents are the ones
Yeah,
that...
I'm the agitator. I'm going out doing stuff.
But that is not a negative when I say that with this. I really, truly enjoyed being a little more responsive. I also really tried, and I think this is a key part, trying to play the initiative game is also very important.
Yes.
Particularly with certain things. When I took an event to uncover your guys, I would do that when, say, you did your plots and deeds, because I knew I'm going to go first, and I'm going to have an opportunity to to capitalize on that having uncovered you, right? Exposed you.
Yeah, and if you've played the British way, the way that the cards and the initiative system work is identical. And I saw that in that game, where it's like, if I take a limb-up sweep, I'm guaranteed to be able to kill those guys.
Yep.
And that is such a strong
Yep.
1-2 punch. You're going to do it in one area, but like...
But that can
if
be an
you're-
impactful
If
area.
you're trying to do something...
Yep.
This is one of those games where you can really guarantee that you can do that,
Yeah.
and you cannot do that in almost every other coin game.
Yeah.
Every other coin game is like, I'm going to sweep, and then I'm going to pray that I go first on the next card, but I have no idea.
Yeah. And that's part of the game, part of the approach, and you have to understand how important initiative is. I like that, right? And I like how that seamlessly worked with the event deck and with the way carriages work. With the movement, I can't remember what they call that specifically.
I think it's
Carriage
just like,
movement.
yeah, that's the only other name.
So while I don't know how many carriages I can move, or whether I can move at all, I am trying to set that up by playing this initiative game to be able to potentially move my carriages into position and then be able to score them. Like, if I had 2 carriages here and I drew this too,
They're both getting in.
bam, that's amazing. And that's what the sheriff's trying to do, because you get justice for those, which is, I'm sorry, order.
yeah.
Justice is you. You get order, but you also get a benefit in dollars. I ended up having a lot of coin because I got 3 or 4 of those all at once. But it's about planning that out. Conversely, it's about trying to plan what you don't want your opponent to do.
Yeah.
How many times did I make the comment, well, I went out and swept you, and it's not sweep, it's patrol. I went out and patrolled you, forcing you then to put your effort, rather than doing something else, to recruit there. And that's what this game is about.
You're
That's
trying
what the
to do
system
your
is about.
stuff, but you're also trying to like block the opponent or force them into doing things that they don't want to do. And if you can get ahead of that and keep that kind of both initiative and pressure on them, that's how you win these games. You don't. You'll never win a game of this by accident.
Right. It takes planning and effort, and consistent planning and effort to work out well. I will say this, just like in the British way, I feel like the events are very good in this game.
Yeah, they're actually tempting.
Yeah, that a lot of times in other coin games, I'm like, I don't really care about that event. Yeah, it'd be nice, but I only have 16 actions, whatever. I got to make sure those count.
Yeah.
In this one, I have more actions because you don't become ineligible.
Yes.
And Vijay Nagara also had a lot of that, where you could take an event and remain eligible. Now, there were times where you became ineligible. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Most of the time, that was if you did op and special activity.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, and the same with the British way, you take the event, but because it's only 2-player, you're
both
still
eligible.
remain eligible. You might just be in a low initiative position.
Yep.
But they did a good job, just like in that one, of making most of the events very, very, very appealing.
Yep.
Where there's
Because
actually...
they're tempting.
There's a crucial decision.
Yeah.
But like you said, in a lot of other coin games, the events are shiny distractions from what you should be doing, or you're playing defensively against events that would hurt you.
Yep.
Whereas,
Agreed.
That's kind of how. Yeah, I play regular coin games with my menu. Whereas in this, and same with the British way, some of those events are so strong. Where you're like, cool, I want to take that. It's going to break a lot of rules, and I can do stuff when I don't have money, because money can be tight in this game. That will set me up to do other stuff. They're just very valuable. They do a good job on those cards. That's for sure.
So I talked a little bit about the focus of the sheriff, and obviously we've played this just initially. We need to play it again and again. But you as Robin Hood, what did you feel like your focus?
So it was interesting playing this where you have like a character, because I don't think there's any other games that do that apart from maybe Gandhi. Falling Sky had your leaders, which kind of did some stuff. But
I feel like those leaders, though, they gave you benefits when you took actions when they were in the space. Gandhi, you could actually do stuff with that was a little bit unique.
Yeah, so that was, I think there was some parallels there, but in this one, Robin Hood, when he's face down and hidden, he's just a merry man.
Yeah.
So you're trying to kind of smoke him out from all of the other underground merry men, but it was also he has his own little special things he can do with his inspire and swashbuckle deeds, which don't cost any money.
Yeah.
And then he's also very good at robbing as well. I think he can just like help them do that. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he can flip up without other guys doing it.
And obviously, we're not as intimately familiar
No.
with this menu of actions as we are some of the other coins, but
you're using him to bring other merry men around and to do some special things where like he can pop up in a parish and just like start a revolt.
Yep.
And he has a lot of power when he's doing Robin Hood stuff, whereas the merry men are kind of just they're going around sitting on roads trying to rob people, to rob carriages. That's what they're quite good at.
And robbing carriages or the traveler deck, right?
Yes.
That's a key part of the game because you're going to get a lot of money from that. You're going to sometimes get little benefits, and you had trouble with money, right? It was a hard thing to come by because I think your first 3 or 4 rob attempts were unsuccessful.
Yeah, but I'd also spent money to put guys out probably a bit too aggressively, and so I had drained my coffers, and then getting money back is very difficult.
Because so that's a mistake that I think you learn from, and I think the next time we play, it'll be much different.
Had I robbed any amount of your carriages,
you would have been fine.
You pick up that money from doing that, and you're like, well, why would the sheriff ever put carriages out? Well, he can win the game.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting those out because if you can get them into Nottingham, that order comes down to you, and that's one of the easiest ways for you to get order.
Well, and it's really almost the only way to get order. The only other way you really get order is at the end of the turn during, what is it called?
It's during the upkeep phase.
Royal inspection round.
Yeah, during the unrest phase.
Yeah, you can, based on the number of territories you have in submission, you're going to get...
You can get one. But that's...
But I'm keeping it away from you because you can get, I think it was 2 or...
I can get up to 3 if I was... But it's usually going to be 1 or 2.
So that, man, if you ever allow them to get 3, the game's going to be over real quick.
But like, that's going to get 1. You can get them from removing camps. Great. There's not going to be that many camps on the board.
I think I removed 1 camp.
And so I think, like you said, the majority of your points are coming from those carriages.
Yep.
So
it's important.
You have to put them out. You have to try to get those in. But then I'm like, ooh, I could try to rob that. And so you get this great kind of synergy between those two sides where those are really important, and you start getting into this feeling like a real Robin Hood game. Mm-hmm. You're moving those carriages in, you're moving your henchmen along to escort them. I'm trying to get rid of the henchmen by, surprising them or getting rid of them or paying them off so they join my side.
You did that several times, and that was cool.
and then
not so cool for me.
And then we're robbing when there's fewer guards, right? It feels great. It feels like a little Robin Hood game.
I actually really liked that competitive thing where, you had to overcome my... So if I had 1 or 2 henchmen in there, and you had 2 or 3 merry men, in order to really do well, you're going to have to pop almost all your guys because you're having to overcome my 2 defense plus whatever the carriage. The trap carriages have a 2 defense.
But then also you get into when you place the carriages out, that money's not coming from nowhere. It's from taxing the people to death, and so they go into revolt when you do that. And then you have to counter that by leaving guys there, so you necessarily can't take everyone with you. Yep. And then you have to spend money to do that before you've got the money back. And there's some really great economy part of this that's just very enjoyable to kind of see and play out. Tough decisions to make, but at the same time, it's 21 cards and you just play the game.
This is about a 90-minute game. That's what you're gonna. It can end sooner, but it's going to be about 90 minutes, and I feel like it's going to be cutthroat, nip and tuck the whole time.
And the reality is, I think if you've played this a few times, you can probably do it in less than that. You can get it down to an hour.
Yeah, it's a matter of understanding the cards, and but I had a blast with this. Yeah. I think it was very enjoyable and cannot wait to take it out again.
What I'll do is I'll show you the board so you can see the lovely artwork, show you how it plays. Again, not very difficult. And then we'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So here's a look at the map. As you can see, stunning map, Wonderful artwork. We really, really love this production value. I'm going to just show you kind of a handful of the cards and what those look like. But they have this stunning faux medieval artwork on them. Just wonderful. And these are massive tarot-sized cards. And there's not many in the game, so it's not kind of, I don't know. Some games it's like, we made these big cards, and it's like, why do we do that? In this one, where the rest of the game is small, having these nice big cards kind of just fits well in there. We even have that same artwork reproduced on these player screens. And the player screens go around your player board to kind of hide how much money you have. And there's a couple different bits and pieces, like which carriages the sheriff has put out, and those are hidden behind there. So there's a little bit of hiding, not a ton, but enough where you have that little shield. We'll talk about the shield also as an excellent play aid. Has all the information on here that you could probably ever need, pretty much. And then this mat has on it setup, and then some opening strategies, and it has the same thing for the Robin Hood player. It has some setup, and then a few different ways you can set up. There's a bit of variation for the Robin Hood player, and then based on which one of these openings you choose, which strategy to kind of employ, basically. But if you've played a coin game, you'll be very familiar with this. We have holding boxes for our pieces, and then we have our plots, or our operations, and then we have our deeds, or our special activities. They have on them a cost, a location where you can do them, and the procedure of how. So if you've played a coin game, you'll be extremely familiar with that. And if you're going to play a coin game after this, that will also kind of lead you well. But basically, the way that the game plays is you're going to play through 3 what are called ballads. Again, in a coin game, you would refer to those as kind of rounds. So each round, there's about 7 cards, and then you have a royal inspection. And a royal inspection is this reset phase where you go through a bunch of steps, do a bit of scoring, rearrange pieces on the board, and then you kind of go again. You do that 3 times. If someone hasn't won an automatic victory. Well, how do you win? You have this track on the side, and I think it starts right here, or it starts here. And basically, this is our royal favor track, is what it's called. If it's over at justice at the end of the game, Robin Hood wins. If it's down in order, the Sheriff of Nottingham wins. If during the royal inspection or the end, you're in this 5, 6, or 7 because you've swung it so hard, you win an automatic victory. And that is possible. It's a short game. It's 21 cards in reality, but it is possible to do that. But again, it's a short game, and you just kind of reset and then go again. So, how does this game function? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to... Here, let me reset this because this is really important down here. This is our initiative board. So, we're going to flip a card, and the card has on it kind of Will Scarlet, a little nice picture on it. It has this 2, which tells you how many carts move 1 space. We don't, well, carriages, they're called carriages, Klein. We don't have any carriages on the board at the moment, but the Sheriff of Nottingham is going to put those out. And when they do, every card effectively has a 1 or a 2. There's a couple that have 0s on them, but you're going to be moving those, and the carts are basically taking riches from out here and driving them down these pathways through territories or region or parishes and woods into Nottingham, at which point they score for the Sheriff of Nottingham. So they're trying to move those in and score those. Robin Hood is, unsurprisingly, trying to rob those and score them for himself. So that's a big function of the game, but the card is what fuels that carriage movement. The other thing we have on here is we have an unshaded event and we have a shaded event. The unshaded event is typically good for the Robin Hood player. The shaded event is typically good for the Sheriff of Nottingham player. So just, if you're playing one or the other, kind of look at that. I kind of hate that they did that. I think they did that to keep in line with shaded and unshaded as government and insurgent in coin. But they make the shaded this dark green, which is the green of like the Robin Hood pieces and the green on this player board. So I actually kind of hate that they did that. I wish they'd have flipped that around because it's shaded and unshaded, but really like the color matches this player. So like, what are we doing here? That was the only goof I think of the whole game that we found. But basically, you're going to have the choice of whether or not you want to do that event. And that choice is based on this initiative track. If you have played the British way, this is identical to the British way. So you have these two little boxes down here, first eligible and second eligible, and Robin Hood starts the game on first eligible, and during each Royal Inspection round that will reset where they will go first eligible as well. That's important to know because you can kind of game that. So this Robin Hood has run of the board. They can either take the event on the card, great, and they will just implement the event, which says, place a camp in one forest and shift one step toward justice, even if there is already a camp there. So that's a really, really good event, because normally, to place a camp, I would have to have a couple guys there, I'd have to pay a shilling, and I wouldn't, I'd have to remove guys, and it's a lot of involved steps to get there that's expensive typically. So that's a really good event for us. So I could do that. Or I could do plots and deeds. And so I'm going to have plots and deeds. I can do one of the plots, and I can do them as many times as I can afford and I choose to, basically. And then, after I've completed the plots that I choose, again, one of them repeated a number of times, you can't pick 3 of the same one, then you can pick one of the deeds and execute that deed. So these are really special things for Robin Hood. You can use Robin Hood to do cool rules-breaking things. You can donate, which is paying money that you have typically robbed from the carriages, to flip these to revolt if you meet the requirements. Or you can turncoat, where you can purchase this guy into one of your own. He literally turns coat and becomes a merry man. That's really fun. We love doing that. So this kind of like, you go like whole hog is what we call that. You get to do all the stuff. The problem is if I choose to do that, this is open now. So now this other event, reveal Robin Hood and perform a free single patrol, that's very bad for us. We want Robin Hood to be hidden as much as possible. It opens that up to be executed by him. And then, after we do all of those, plots and deeds, and then he takes the event, what's going to happen is whoever's the furthest to the left on this little track becomes first eligible. So not only is the Sheriff of Nottingham going to get to take this cool event, which is bad for us, boop, or this event down here, there you go, I'm already confused, then I'm going to be second. He's going to then get to go again on the next card, which might be an even worse event, or he can follow up that good event with plots and deeds, and he can go whole hog after having done this bad event to me as well. So what you do here is extremely impactful and is the real fuel of the game. And the other thing that you might look at is if the first eligible player takes that event, unless you're in an extremely good position or an extremely bad position and you need to do plots and deeds, it's almost always better to do a single plot, execute that single plot, become first eligible on the next card, because then, again, you have run of the board now. So you got to do a thing, so maybe in that you, robbed someone, you robbed a little carriage, and you succeeded in doing that, great, and I got a bunch of money from that, and I got one of these, but now I can then follow that up with this really cool event, or I can then double down with plots and deeds, where I can, recruit more guys and hide my guys, and it's almost like a double turn in that way. So it's extremely important to bear in mind that sometimes the single plot is your very best option, but because you can't see the cards ahead, it's also, there's a little bit of that gamble in there. But getting the double turn is really, really, really important if you can get it to go. So what do some of the kind of actions look like? So plots, the Sheriff of Nottingham can hire, he's going to put his guys out on the board where he has submission, basically. To patrol, he's going to move guys around, so he's going to swing guys in here, and then he might reveal guys, depending on, it's harder to snuff guys out in the forest. Now that they're revealed, we can try to ride or disperse, or on a subsequent turn we can try to capture them. But again, all of this costs money. And you start with some money, I think 5 for Robin Hood, 9 for the Sheriff. That will disappear quite quickly. And the only way to really raise more money, effectively, is to put out these carriages. And the carriages have, this one's worth 5 shillings if you can get it to go for the Sheriff of Nottingham. To do that, you have to do a plots and deeds, because this confiscate is a deed. So you do plots and deeds, and you're going to put these guys out, I think it's up to 2, and you're going to put them where you have submission and where you have henchmen. But because they are literally confiscating taxes to like go and take into Nottingham, into the treasury, it puts everyone into revolt because they hate that they had all their money taken. And then, again, through the course of the game, one of these carts I can move along these little roads to go down here. Oh, so this is the same space. So he's going to move into this space now. The problem is if I have a bunch of merry men in here, that's prone to being robbed. So the carriage moves for free, but I might, on my turn, do a plot where I move my guys in to help escort, because when they try to rob, my henchmen make it more difficult to rob by increasing the target number needed to roll on the die, basically. So that's really the course of what the sheriff player is trying to do. They're trying to confiscate, and then they're trying to hire, because when you hire and you have guys out here, again, it costs money, but you can buy back loyalty by spending more in. But you're going to pay less to do that than you'll gain from getting these in. So it's an economy that you have to manage. They're also trying to capture guys, because if there's merry men all in prison up here, they just can't do as much. But that's a lot of what they're trying to do. Robin Hood, on the other hand, he's trying to recruit guys to get camps on the board, because if he can get a lot of the camps, and the camps, by the way, are these beautiful bases with these deer on them, these stags. Just wonderful. So you might get a couple of these out. Every time you build those, justice goes up. It's like literally encampments of merry men who are getting people to your side. You might try to rob this. To rob, you're going to flip as many guys as you want. And in the forest, you roll the green die, or anywhere you have revolt, you roll the green die. Anywhere else, you roll the much worse white die. And you're going to try to beat the target number. So you flip your guys. At that point, you reveal the carriage. Oh no, this carriage has the trap symbol on it. That's this one down here. And on the play aid, it tells you that the trap has a 2 defense on it. So this has a 2 defense. This has a 1 defense because we have a guard with them. And I need to roll my 2 guys plus a die roll, and I have to beat their 3. So I'm going to roll, and I rolled a -1, so I'm 2 down to a 1. I did not beat them. That's very bad. And so it says on the little play aid, if it's a trap and we failed, which we did, we are captured. So we go to prison. This is awful. And this stays revealed. You still know it's a trap. This game's not quite like that. And then, on a subsequent turn, after I've done all my stuff, these guys, we're going to flip another card. We're going to go 1. This is going to go into here, and the sheriff's going to get a couple shillings. These guys might stay, and they might do a plot to eradicate the base, get some order back, and kind of kill off the stuff that's going on. So there's a lot of risk involved in those robberies, especially if you roll the die like me. I don't think I succeeded once, which is pretty embarrassing. But all the roads up here have to go through here, and all the roads out here have to go through these woods. So you will get good chances to do it with the good die. You're guaranteed that pretty much. They have to move through those, but you have to be able to roll. You have to set yourself up with merry men to be able to do it well. And to do that, you have to counter the rides and the patrols that are coming out that are trying to snuff you out as well. But basically, you're doing all this back and forth on the initiative, back and forth with the events and the deeds and the plots, and you're just trying to get this to go to your side. And again, whoever's side it ends on, they're going to win the game. And if you can get some of these, so I think there are these special ones here that give you order or justice. If you can get one of those and get a couple bases out, and you might get one of those, get an event that says hey, move justice towards you, and you can end the game like this, or end a round like that. You can actually win an auto victory part of the way through the game, which is very doable, is what I would say. But that's really how the game plays. Stunning, wonderful, beautiful. What we'll do is we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. So that was a look at the map. Like you said, I had a grand time playing this.
Yep.
I felt like I almost immediately knew all the rules because I played the British way and every other coin game.
Yep.
A discussion that we were having earlier was a lot of people were going to claim, and they're going to say, that, this is a great introduction to coin. And what I would say is that this is a great introduction to the British way.
Yeah.
Because those share a lot of DNA, And yeah, if you wanted to use this as a stepping stone into coin, you could do that. But the reality is if you want to learn a coin game, just pick up Cuba Libre. Right?
Yeah, I think we had the discussion that you're not going to play this 5 or 6 times and so fully understand the nuances of coin that you're going to jump into, say, Fire in the Lake or Falling Sky or Pendragon, the more complex deep end of those pools. You can then step into, say, Cuba Libre or People Power, although that one we've discussed isn't really an introductory game either, because it's so divergently different than the other coin volumes. This is going to teach you the mechanics of asymmetry and some of the, the sequence of play, although it's different in regular coin.
You'll learn some of the abstract concepts, right? Like, I need to care about initiative, and maybe I'll sacrifice lots of actions for a couple to stop my opponent. But when you parlay that into something like Andean Abyss, where you have 4 players, the menu looks different, and your cards, and you have totally different stuff going on there. That's still a pretty big leap.
Yes,
and so
it is.
Yeah,
I think it does prepare you, but for people to say this is coin series light, I don't know. I don't feel that way. I think this is more like the British way.
Yeah, very
than
similar.
Other regular coin games, and that's not bad. This is a great game. This is a very good system.
Yeah, you're still gonna have to like do something a bit more to knock Cuba Libre off that introductory space to me, because so much of that is relatable to every other coin game, whereas this one, like, there's a lot more rules you got to pick up going into the next ones.
I think that the people that are going to enjoy this the most are ones who do understand the concept of asymmetry, because we are so different trying to win.
Totally different.
We're actually trying to win in the same way, get this on your side, but the way we go about that is completely asymmetric. So if you like asymmetric games, if you like a game that I think has a deep thematic connection, this felt very Robin Hood. It honestly did. Everything you were doing was Robin Hood-like. Everything I was doing was the Sheriff of Nottingham, Guy Gisborne, and all the scumbag-like. It was very thematic, and it got us into that, and I enjoyed it very, very, very much.
Yes.
But it's also a well-put-together game.
It's just a good game,
it's just a good game that works well, and that's only after we've played this and done. We've had a lot of discussions about it, but we need to play it again and get it in like we did British Way, played 3 or 4 times. But people are going to enjoy this if they like those concepts in a game. And this is a beautiful game, a great value.
Yeah.
I am very pleased with the way this Irregular Conflict series is going. I loved Vijayanagara. This game is amazing. The next one is Cross Bronx Expressway by No Breaking Space. That one looks cool because you're building and trying to...
I think that one looks quite different.
Oh, very different.
Whereas like this, I can see a lot of lineage with other games. I think Cross Bronx Expressway is going to give you something pretty unique. Quite unique, and that's exciting. We played a lot of games.
Oh yeah.
But seeing something that's very different is always like, ooh. Yeah, let's explore that. That's exciting.
I also really enjoyed these player screens, and that's a very important part of the game.
Yes.
You are trying to hide from the other player, really, the remaining number of units you have and your dollars. That's about it.
Units are pretty calculable, but it's also...
But I forgot how many we got removed from the game. So... But those are the 2 things you're really trying to hide.
But yeah, you don't have a traditional play like you would in a coin game.
It's right here.
Your arcs and events are on a play mat. Sorry, they're deeds and plots.
Yeah.
But then this is a really good play.
It is very good. You can play the game from this once you get...
Yes. There's almost everything on here.
All the different elements are there. It even gives you an insight into the Traveler deck. And we didn't talk a whole lot about that, but it's another secondary deck that Robin Hood and his merry men can use as a little bit safer alternative to robbing the carriages.
It's one of those push your luck elements, right?
Yeah. I'm
going to rob, and then I'm going to see what it is, and that's what we're going up against. Could be a 0, could be a 1 or a 2.
I think the highest one was...
We saw a 3.
Guy Gisborne was a 3, right?
Which is not good.
Yeah.
So those are a fun little,
It's just unique.
Yeah, you pull those up and you got a choice to make. Do I like just frisk them or do I like, is it a stick up? There's a little moral quandary there.
And then even based on the benefit that you select, sometimes those guys just go to the discard pile when you rob them, right? The monks, I think.
Yeah.
But then if you took the little better benefit, they go to the victims pile.
Yes.
And those victims pile played off of cards that may or may not be in the deck. And that was kind of unique. When we realized that, we're like, oh, okay, now we understand what...
Because I'm like sticking people up, we get a bunch of victims, and then all of a sudden one of the event cards is like, place a number of henchmen equal to the victims. And you're like, oh no. No, we shouldn't have done that.
Because Robin Hood has carried his asymmetric warfare resistance a little far.
I've gone from being a hero to infamy.
Yeah, and now the sheriff...
That's great.
But that's great. But you have that choice and that opportunity, and... that was unique. The other thing I really enjoyed about that Traveler's deck, and I was able to look through all the cards after we played, there are several of these that don't start in the deck. Guy, and then the Bishop or something.
Yeah.
So there were 2 or 3 that didn't start
Bishop of Hereford.
There you go.
And you add them. And so then that makes it riskier for me to do it.
So I would want to put that in because he has a little higher defense, and it's like... There's also cards that allow you to take out some of the monks.
But then it's like, I've got 21 actions. Do I really want to waste my time doing that, right?
It's all...
But that's the game.
Yep.
Oh, that's
It's
the
all
game.
based on the circumstance that's going on in the situation at that time. Sometimes that make perfect sense.
Yeah, if they're hammering these, you're like...
Yep. But are you gonna do that and waste your opportunity to recruit some henchmen and uncover some dudes, or... That's the hard. That's the choice.
Game. There's so many choices in this game like that. Even though it's a pretty small game, and you're gonna do basically like 21 things this game.
Yeah.
Like you're not even gonna do that. You will. You play on every card. Yeah. Like
you do play on every card. So the max length it is 21 cards.
Yeah, and even then,
some of those
are like events.
Yeah,
the fortune events.
Fortune events. Those were pretty cool. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, it's
because it was like I can do something,
and
you can do something, and usually they were contradictory.
Yeah, like I might like one of them was that temporary truce where it was like you get out of my areas,
right?
I get out of your areas, and then like we exchange a victory point so nothing happens.
Yeah.
But it just kind of resets the board a little bit. If you're in a pickle, like that could be really fortuitous.
Yep.
Or you're like no.
Yeah, I'll
sacrifice the victory point because I want where I want to be and I want to turn the screw.
I really enjoyed the carriages too. That was fun.
Yeah.
Like putting out the guys that you had to overcome and got arrested. That was fun.
Yeah. This
Very
game
much enjoyed it.
was everything that I wanted it to be.
Well, and I feel re-energized about all things coin and all things 8. I just really enjoyed this that much. I actually feel the same way I felt about the British Way last year when we first played. I was like, holy crap, that was great.
Yeah.
This is a great game. Well put together, well produced. It's fun to play.
And it looks great.
Oh, and it's in a cool series, and I hope that GMT continues to put effort into this and develop games. I thought they have a sci-fi game coming out as Volume 4, which hasn't been announced yet, but I have seen talk of that, and I hope that that's the case, that they keep churning some volumes out, because this is neat.
And I know, I think of the last kind of 2, 3, 4 years, GMT has really made a big investment into their development team.
Yeah.
They got GMT1, which do a lot of good work as well.
Well, they've got good people at Joe Dewhurst, Jason Carr. Those guys are smart,
but
they know what they're doing.
They really put a lot of money and effort and time into that, and we are now seeing 2, 3 games that have come from that
reaping the benefit
and reaping massive benefits. This is such a well-produced game. There is an online FAQ, which we did have to refer to once.
Well, some of the cards, it's funny because, for instance, one of the cards was, I think it was Will Scarlet, where it said, reveal Robin Hood and any merry man in his space.
It just said remove. It just said
remove
Robin
not
Hood
reveal.
and one merry man in the space.
But our question was, what if Robin Hood is underground and hidden, are you able to move him? And it just wasn't
The
clear.
answer to that question is yes.
Yes.
You just pick him up, like, I have to tell you where he is, and
Yep.
they all go off the board.
Yep.
But you just, like, one bracketed word. Like,
Would have,
yeah.
even if
hidden,
Yeah.
right? That's done.
Yeah.
And that was one, there's little, tiny little bits like that where, as veteran coin players, where the language is very precise
and specific,
and very exact, we're used to reading the cards and reading the rules that way.
Yeah.
And so when there's a little bit like that, it was like, okay, I'm not familiar enough with this game to know whether or not you can do that.
Right.
So we had to look it up. But it exists.
Yeah, we put out a call on Twitter and we got our answers. But I would say this, more often than not, event cards literally do what they say.
Yeah.
They break the rules, they ignore conditions. It's just the way the game is built. It's the DNA of the system. Coin adjacent, irregular. It's just the way it is. Because an event is a big investment. In this game, not so much. I feel like the events
that's just it. It was
very
like, okay,
impactful.
does it do this? Does it do that?
Yeah.
Which rules is it breaking? Is it all of them? Is it some of them? And so
Right.
we got an answer for that. There is an online FAQ if you have any questions.
I need to download that
but
and
they're
just put it in the box.
very specific niche questions that only us nerds would have. I think normal players probably wouldn't even ask that question.
You think?
Yeah, I think they would just remove
Yeah,
it.
well.
Whereas we're like, okay.
Sometimes we do too much of that.
I feel like
that's
I
okay.
sometimes read too much into stuff.
Yeah, I know I do. I way read too much. And I always read it slanted towards my advantage.
Oh,
ironically.
Well, I mean, we all do that.
Yeah. Oh, no, every time we do it, I try to make sure that it's fair.
Fair to me.
Yeah.
But a Gest of Robin Hood from GMT. You got to check this out. You're going to have a
Excellent.
good time with it. It's 2 players short. You're going to play it on a lunch break. You're going to
Yep.
play this with your family members. It's not particularly complex.
I want to play this with John. I want to figure out
You just do what it says.
Yeah. I want to figure out how we play this with our father-in-law. Whether it's all 3 of us sitting down and doing it, I just want him to experience it because I think he's going to enjoy it.
In true John, I'm not gonna
He's our
box him.
father-in-law and he's 70.
He would watch us play this for hours.
He would, but
That's very him.
I would want him to experience it.
I think he would have a great. But I think if he watched you play it a couple of times, then
He'd
you
be
put him
able
in a
to pick it
driving
up.
suit,
Yeah.
he'd be having a good time.
But that's his real focus and fixation is on Robin Hood, and that's great.
If there's a Robin Hood game that
He's
comes
gonna
out,
buy it.
he buys it.
And actually, the last one he bought was really pretty freaking good.
Which one was that one?
It was the cartoony graphic one, but it was fun. It
The
was the one we all lost together.
oh, okay.
Like the carriages getting through, lose the game.
So
but it was fun.
We played a subsequent one that was like
And I didn't play
had a
that
book,
one. I didn't play that one.
and it
with
had
you
like
guys.
a ruler, and that you were
Yep.
literally going from like shadow parts of the board where you were hidden to none.
Yeah.
And it was this narrative game that it was like a advent calendar where you'd like open up parts of the board. I'm not joking. And then there was like a little picture underneath
That's
of what
funny.
would happen. It was very. I've never played anything like it.
Yeah.
But like literally any Robin Hood game, he's like, got it. It's
Oh, yeah.
fine.
He's got a dozen of them.
whole shelf of them. He's fun.
Well, that Worthington one was really good too.
That was just like a solid block war game.
Yeah.
Robin Hood. It was great. This reminds me of that in that way.
Sure.
Where like the Robin Hood pieces are hidden.
Yep.
And it's a lot about trying to keep away, but also then pop up and rob and do your stuff.
Yeah.
In a different way, but that's what a good Robin Hood game is when it's competitive like that,
Yep.
right? It's a cat and mouse.
Yep.
And you get some of that in here because I have to stop you with those carriages. You have to put those carriages out.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's like, okay,
Yep.
it's very risky.
It is.
It's great. This is a wonderful game.
Yeah.
Check it out. But
Well, and I'm going to do some written content on it. I'm going to do a first impressions post. I would like to do my action point series because there's a lot of cool things that I can explain here.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll also play this again. I wouldn't even mind doing a live play of this one. Not a streaming one, but
no,
we put our
we'll do a
camera-
playthrough of this.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think that, yeah. Let's put that in the books.
Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed this a lot. Good
was
job,
wonderful.
Fred. Good job, Fred.
Yes. Appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander of theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.